Hello.
Hey,
And we'll start off with you want to tell us about your names and your background?
sure. I'll kick it off. My name is JC Cortez, and basically, I started my career as an interior designer for hospitality. I'm originally from California, but I lived in Asia, Hong Kong, and Singapore for 15 years of my life. So quite a large portion of it designing hotels in Macau, mainland China, and all throughout Southeast Asia. I then moved to London and I was ready for a career change. I'm Mexican American and my family is from the region of tequila where, it's a denominated region of origin where tequila has to come from in order to be called tequila. So our family has many acres of land there where we grow agave. No one had produced it yet, though. We were just growing almost like as a landholder. And when I went through a sad incident, my father passed away in 2020. So I reconnected with my Mexican family, and it was a big change in my life, not only in the sense that I was ready for a new career, but also just reconnecting with my roots. I was born and raised in America, so you're Mexican American, but you don't really have a lot of cultural influence as such. So it was really eye opening and beautiful. And while it was a sad time, it was also a really transformational time, really. And I was actually a tequila drinker before all this for my own health issues. And just knowing that our family was growing and agave and learning more about the industry, I spoke to them about it and I thought, could I produce my own brand? And their answer was like, of course, si puedes. So, that's how it started. And then it became kind of like a passion project. I had just finished up my master's in real estate investing and finance, which has nothing to do with tequila. But, life takes you in different ways sometimes. And, instead of looking for a job in what my course of study was, I really threw myself into putting together a business proposal and finding out, what was the growth of tequila. I knew it was huge in America and it has been for quite some time, but I was curious about how it was growing in Europe and other parts of the world. And that really got me excited because it was very much an emerging spirit in these other areas of the world. And me living now in London, it just really strengthened my passion to start the business. That's how really I started with I call it my passion project because it did stem, from this reconnection I was craving with my dad's heritage. And so, then enter Heather.
Yeah, so my name is Heather Ann, and my background is I was in New York City. I'm an East Coast girl, and I had gone there to be an actress, but I wound up having lots of boutiques with my sister. So my background is also in design. It was clothing design. And so I am half English. My mom was born here, and my passion project was moving to London. So I'd always wanted to live here. It's a great city. I have a lot of family here, but I also love the vibrancy. For me, it's got everything that I wanted in a place to live. So anyway, moved here, and I was also at a juncture in my life where I was looking for the next project. Our daughter was about to go off to boarding school. I have a creative background, and JC, her son goes to school with my daughter, or they went to school at that time, and she was a brand new mom. And a big component of my life, something that I learned along the road, was the value of female friendship, and it's been super powerful in my life. And so when JC came on the scene and she was new, I grabbed her and I said, "Oh, hi, you're new from America. I've been here for a year, and let's go have a drink, and then, she told me she was Mexican American. And I said, "Oh, do you like reggaeton?" And she said, "Yes." And so I said, "Well, we need to go dancing." And then our friendship blossomed from there. And she began to tell me about her passion project. Now, I did not know much about tequila. But when she started to tell me why she drank tequila, that really made a light bulb go off in my head, because I'm also very much about health and wellness, both physical health and mental health. And when she started explaining to me how the body processes tequila differently, how you don't get a hangover, how it's, sugar-free, additive-free, low calorie, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to be part of this. And so we joined forces, and we both have a similar outlook on life and similar values. We're really quite good friends, and we can be serious, but we also love a party. And I think that one of our missions is to help women from all walks of life sort of embrace their spirit, because sometimes we really lose our spirit in life, work, children, marriage, all those pressures, and you forget who you were. You forget to have fun. And I think a big part of what we want to do is both health-based, which is quite serious and scientific, and all of that is there. But we also want to reach out to women and say, grab your friends, go have a drink, go out dancing, remember who you used to be. And I think we share a lot of common interests along those areas.
Yeah, especially around wellness. I think, for as you get older, it's something that you have to look after. Drinking is not obviously part of a wellness program, but it can be.
Mhm.
And that's what I learned. I mean, early on, I started to have a lot of issues health-wise with drinking wine and champagne because I have high acidity. And I really thought, oh, is this it for me? I just can't drink. I love to dance. I love to go out, and being in the hospitality industry on the design side, it made me sad that, I know people can be sober and all that. And, but I still wanted to enjoy a drink once in a while. So this is how I stumbled onto tequila. And when I started drinking it, all my acidity issues went away. I used to get horrible migraines from the sulfates in wine, and all of that disappeared. I mean, of course, you have to drink responsibly. We never advocate for anyone to drink a bottle of tequila, but if you drink it responsibly, it's a great spirit, and it is processed differently than other spirits. It's gluten-free. We speak to many people that actually have celiac disease, and they have been drinking tequila because it's really the only thing that isn't made from like barleys or wheat or those kinds of source based products. So yeah, I think the wellness thing was a huge connector for us. Obviously, being two crazy Americans in London that love to dance.
Well, and I also thought, here was a mission for us, because I feel like I didn't know about tequila till JC spoke to me. And then when we started to look at the marketing around tequila, so often it's very masculine, it's very male, it's, strong and harsh, and all the imagery on the bottles is masculine, cows. And I thought, actually, this is a product that if women knew about it, if they understood the science, if they understood the benefits of it, I think they would really be into it. So that was also part of it. There's a large room for education around tequila, why you should drink it, how it's nice. And we do it with our friends all the time. We call it the Ladydragón Challenge. We say, come out with us, just drink tequila and soda.
Good tequila.
Good tequila. Well, obviously that's important. And that's also another thing that you find when you talk to people. Their only experience is sort of like yucky shots of really cheap tequila. And they have this association with drinking too much and throwing up and
all these university kind of stories that sadly has overshadowed what is actually a very healthy spirit.
Yes.
Because we all started kind of not knowing how to drink. And I think back when tequila was really coming out in a more like commercial way, it was introduced more as a shot, and it wasn't the best quality tequila. And that's just really not how it should be consumed. In Mexico, it's sipped.
Mm-hmm.
It's only kind of in the US where the whole shots culture started.
Yeah.
And yeah, I even have horrible stories from university. I mean, who doesn't, right?
It's a rite of passage.
Yes, when you're drinking a really dodgy tequila in shots.
Yeah.
So, we do really want to re-educate and reintroduce tequila to women, men, everybody, because it is a healthier choice to drink. And we would love to get rid of that kind of stigma that, tequila is like really this disgusting and horrible spirit that's going to make you have the worst hangover. It couldn't be further from the truth.
And so in this country, tequila has a very bad reputation. So if you'd like to explain to me, what is actually tequila?
So good tequila should be made from 100% agave, and it comes from the blue Weber agave, which is a specific species of the agave plant because there's many. You only actually commercially have to be 51% agave, and you can call yourself a tequila. Many of the brands early on obviously wanted to monetize and mass produce without naming names. I think we all know who like the kind of pioneers in the industry were. And yeah, it's a mixed dose. So they mix 51% and then they add other types of alcohols in there. And that really is, what makes it terrible. You really have to look out for tequila. I always tell all my friends, make sure it's 100%. It should say it on the label. If it's not 100%, they cannot put it on the label. And so if you look at many mainstream brands, that you'll be shocked. You'll look at their label and it won't say 100%. That's because it won't be. And that's really the differential maker, because if it isn't 100%, you will get all the terrible side effects that, are notorious and associated with tequila. So first of all, look for that. Our tequila happens to be additive free. Mm-hmm. That's almost another layer of wellness, because not all tequilas are additive free. And by that, I mean some tequilas add flavorings. So,
or
sugar, because most tequila was originally being made, and probably still now, although it's changing, for the American market. And Americans are used to very sweet flavors. Sugar has been introduced into our food since the 1950s in even things that do not need sugar. And it's just become kind of like a taste that we become accustomed to, sadly. So, the tequila industry knew that. So they would add sugar, and all these things are what gives people hangovers. So ours is additive free. It's pure. It's only tequila and deep well water that actually comes from the tequila volcano.
And that's the real name.
Yeah.
Tequila volcano. When we went there, I said,
but it doesn't spew tequila.
I was like, is that the real name? Because I thought they were just like, tequila volcano. And they're like, no, it's tequila volcano. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's inactive.
Yeah.
But, there's water that gets drawn and provides all the land around there.
And one of the other things is when they're roasting the agave, the smell is fantastic. It's such a delicious. So when they actually take the agave and they chop all the stalks off and then they have to pack it into this oven and roast it, it is delicious smelling, like butterscotch or caramel or something. And the whole process, like where it's produced, it's all orchards. That's why we don't need to add anything to our tequila, because everything comes from the biome. Yeah. So we're fortunate.
Yeah. And I think once you start drinking tequila, good tequila, mm-hmm. you do start to appreciate what a special spirit it is. The way it's made is very unique. The plant itself, it doesn't spike sugar levels, so diabetics can have tequila. Yeah. It already is sweet, but it's a natural sugar that gets processed. It's not refined, so that's why it doesn't spike sugar levels. And like you said, the smell of it and the natural flavors that come from it mm-hmm. are delicious.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, people thought that, let's add sugar and colorings and additives to make it more appealing. But it's like let's strip it back and let's just taste the pure spirit. And you actually find that it's really quite nice tasting, especially when it's craft made. So our tequila, small batch craft made. Heather and I go down to Mexico to the distillery twice a year, and we actually select the batches that will get bottled, which is such a hard job.
We suffer.
Yeah. It's like a 3 or 4 day week of tequila drinking nonstop.
Yeah.
And, you do it, responsibly, and they, we number all the batches and they bring out all the different profiles that they've been able to balance. We have an amazing maestro tequilero who is in charge. Every distillery has one. And that's the person that's in charge of basically balancing profiles, but also creating the tequila itself and making sure that APV is at the right level. And our maestro tequilero comes from a family of Maestro Tequileros. So he's generational. So if you can imagine, he grew up with his father doing it. And so it's a passion for him and his family. And he does a wonderful job and he gets the flavors we're going for.
Mhm.
From the beginning, we said we as women, I like a smooth tequila.
Yeah.
I don't want to make that tequila face after I taste it.
Yeah.
We don't want the burn.
Yeah.
I don't
The smoke, yeah.
exactly what I do like about tequila. I like those natural flavors. Like, you can taste a little bit of citrus, some floral notes, a little bit of pepper. Our tequila, because it comes from Amatitan, which is more at the base of the tequila region, it does have this earthy. Some people think it's peppery. I feel like it's more earthy, like herbal, I would describe it. And that in combination with the floral and fruity flavors makes like for a very smooth profile. So that's always what we're looking for when we taste.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we had, where a lot of we had lovely people that were helping us in touring, but often even the people that were, helping us with this process would point us towards very almost harsh flavors, and we have to keep saying, no, we know what we're looking for, because we went with the mission. We had a clear understanding who we were marketing to, and so we've often had to sort of take the reins back and say, no, we know what we like. We know what we're trying to market for a different palate, and we want this softer, smoother, more gentle experience.
And natural.
And
we're not trying to hide the flavor of tequila, because like I said, if it's pure, it's actually very nice tasting. So I don't know why, they would try and push us towards these very much masked kind of profiles, or really aged.
Yeah.
And for me personally, although añejo is a lovely spirit, añejo has been aged for over 2 years, and some people like it, some people don't. It's not for me personally. But both of us thought, we don't know many women or new tequila drinkers that really like that añejo flavor. So we thought, our line is going to be about what we think is missing right now in the market. And it's not the ultra expensive añejo that's going to be like a scotch or whiskey. I think people want, to have something they can use in a cocktail that they can sip on over ice, and that's going to be enjoyable and healthy.
Yeah. And so you've got your liquid down, what you want it to taste like, and so the name. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the name and its background?
Yeah. So living in Asia for 15 years, I obviously, wherever I live, being a hotel designer, I, was fortunate enough to be able to live in various places. And I love to take on the culture. Like, I love culture in general. So when I was in Asia, Chinese New Year's is so huge. It's bigger than Christmas. I loved everything around it. I quickly found out I was Year of the Dragon, which I was very proud of, because that's the best one. But yeah, that's where dragon came from. And then ironically, my daughter was also born Year of the Dragon. So, it's been a running theme in our family. And moving, I always thought I wanted something, associated with dragon, but also living in Asia, there was almost a negative connotation around the word dragon lady. I worked in Asia, and, I became quite senior in my design career. And, I am a hard worker and I am a tough boss. And right away you get tagged, oh, you're a dragon lady because you're mean, and horrible because you're efficient and good at your job, basically. So I thought, I'm proud to be, I am over in Asia, they would call you a dragon lady, but I wanted to flip it into a positive thing. And then also being in the UK, we thought lady does have a connection with like lords and ladies, just the whole history in London and titles. And it sounds more positive.
And I also think it embodies what we're going for, which is we are women, and we are, obviously this is not only for women, but our marketing, our whole thing is around being floral and feminine and not being apologetic. Because I think sometimes in business, going back to what you were saying about Dragon Lady, it's almost like we have to behave like a man to get ahead, and we don't want to. We're women, and we're proud of what we like. We're proud of our taste, and so I think the lady is also embodies that. It's like, yes, we've got flowers and butterflies on our bottle. We do live in. I'm a gardener, an avid gardener. I've been published, and so when we came together, and then of course the whole Mexican thing of wearing flowers. So it was like all these little threads that kind of wove together.
Came together really nicely for the brand. Almost without much effort.
Right.
When we started speaking about, what we liked and, my names and why the dragon was important for me to include and the flower aspect, it just really magically came together.
Everybody loved it because we started to, tell our friends and everyone's like, oh, that's quite catchy. They liked it. So then we thought, okay, we're going to go for it. That's it,
Yeah, no, it's a good name, Ali. I like your name. And the butterfly, the flowers, the whole design, where did that come from?
Well, it sort of came out, we knew we wanted something very beautiful. We were inspired, we looked around at different brands. We made mood boards of the things that were attracting us to different cocktails or different designers that we both like in common. And so the flowers were definitely, we knew they would have to be a big part of it.
And it's also very much this common thread with English culture and Mexican culture. I mean, when I think of England, obviously the roses, English roses.
Flower show.
Exactly. And in Mexico, flowers are a huge part of our culture, not only during certain holidays like Dia de los Muertos, but also there's dance folklorico, which is like our traditional Mexican dances that every region of Mexico has. The women have always worn ribbons and flowers in their hair. It's a beautiful part of Mexican, the colorfulness of the Mexican culture is flowers. And then obviously, like Heather said, her being an avid gardener, it just really fused together. And we thought, floral theme has to be the lead.
Yes.
And it is very feminine.
Yeah. And also I feel like, so often I think luxury has been associated with like, very straight lines, dark colors and simplicity. But, I think that we're more like maximalists, and we feel like that's quite luxurious, like Dolce and Gabbana, or like, there's many, many different things. So we really wanted to have this joyous, and I think that's the other thing. We want people to feel happy when they're drinking our product. And so we feel like the flowers it's just an expression of joy,
You say that you're women in there. How did people treat you when you first went to them and said, we want to make this tequila?
Well, Heather wasn't my first stop. So, I had this business plan and I did pitch it to other people before men, and they thought it would not work. They just said, oh, it's two women. Do they drink tequila? Like, do you know what I mean? And I've told them, I can assure you we do.
Yes.
It was almost a disbelief that a spirit would be embraced by women, but which boggled my mind because I thought, surely women drink everything.
Yeah.
Like there's not, there's no defined line. There's women who drink whiskey. So why have not more spirit companies been marketing to 50% of your demographic? So I got a lot of kind of hesitation and disbelief, which I didn't let it bring me down. And I refused to change my concept. A lot of it was like, it can't be so focused. And I thought, no, that's the whole point. I want it to be focused. So I think as women in not just spirits, but any industry, you really have to stick to your idea. Don't let people change it. Men, particularly in some areas of business, like, investment, they love to try and change your ideas. And because they think they know better. And, in some cases they might, but in some cases they don't. And you have to be passionate about your ideas, because 100%, I think, especially when you're a woman, you get people trying to change your ideas because they won't believe in it. And so I just would walk away and say, well, then this probably isn't for you, because this is what I want my product to be.
And sometimes, not anymore, but in the beginning, it would almost be like, isn't that cute? isn't that cute? Those two women trying to like run a business. And, you just sort of have to kind of roll your eyes and think, well, I've had many businesses, JC's.
Yeah, this isn't my first venture.
It's not our
and
first,
it's not either.
and so, I don't think it got us down at all. No,
I mean,
you can have a laugh. We pour tequila and have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
But
but sadly, as women, you get used. I mean, especially as you get older in your life, I've been working for 20 plus years. You get used to it. You know what to expect, and it's part of the game. And you're like, okay, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
And I don't let it get me down. And most importantly, I always tell younger women, and don't let it change you.
Yeah.
You have good ideas just because.
And we do that with one another. Because sometimes, one of us might say to the other one, oh, we got this. What do you think? And then we pep each other and we go, listening to them. This is something we believe in. We know what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And we support one another through that. And
confidence in what your idea is. Yeah. And stick with it. There's always room for, improvement here and there, but I don't believe in changing the core of the concept, just because someone thinks, one way. It's just, that was probably, I think, one of the main challenges.
Yeah.
You touched on the other one, like maybe not taking it serious enough,
right?
Or underestimating, the power or the knowledge that we have, that we're bringing from other businesses that maybe are not spirits, but businesses nonetheless, that we've run in the past. And and I think it's common. I think that's a story that many women will tell you who run their own businesses, but you get past it and you stick to your guns and keep going.
I think actually, as we've progressed along, it's almost turned to be something in our favor, because then people are sort of like, oh, okay, wow, that's really interesting what you're doing. And you're not doing it like everybody else. Yeah. And so I think it's almost flipped, where at first people were a little bit like, oh, okay. And now it's like, oh, of course, what a great idea. It makes total sense that you should be marketing to women and doing it your way and bringing something different to the market. Obviously, that makes sense, right? And now I think we're getting a lot of support.
Yes.
Yeah.
From men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like me. And so to you, Heather, what then drew you to this when the pitch came in?
Yes.
What was the spark?
Well, I mean, I think two things. It was twofold. I'm a creative. And so I was going to do something in design. I had already a couple of concepts that I was working on. And so when JC approached me, and her background was also in design, I thought there was a lot of room around how we were going to market the product. And we have plans. So one of the things that we're going to do is produce a jewelry line. It's quite ESG because when we went there, we found all the agave fibers that were like just, thrown out almost, because obviously all the stalks get cut off. It's actually a traditional craft to actually take those and weave them into different products. And so there was room to do a lot of creativity. So we have plans for a whole line of jewelry, bags, hats, but all from this recycled agave materials, all fair trade, all paying the indigenous women very, very well for their product, because we are another
which is my passion project, being Mexican. There is a whole community of indigenous women and men, but it's almost, they're marginalized in a way because they speak a different language. So not everyone knows that they don't speak Spanish. Many of them obviously you have to learn, but some of them don't. And so what they lean on is handicraft and selling, these woven products to tourists and, to whoever they can around. But it's, they don't have a lot of resources in terms of employment. If you don't speak Spanish in Mexico, you're kind of, out of luck. And it's a community that is probably depleting, as more and more integration of, Mexicans, where it's a, it's a hybrid really of a, Spanish and the indigenous community, but like Native Americans, they will also slowly, shrink down and maybe one day disappear. And that makes me really sad, because for me, so much of the culture of what is Mexico and so much of the beauty and love for nature comes from this indigenous community that were there first. And it really was their land. And, that is really something that has always touched me. Even as a child, when I learned, how Mexico became Mexico and the history, you always just think like, how sad that this, the beauty of that culture is disappearing. And so for me, involving this foundation that teaches Indigenous women how to weave and kind of brings them together was a huge part of that I wanted to incorporate into the brand. When Heather told me about her fashion background, straight away, I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to love this. And you have to see these woven materials because they do beautiful work and I knew you'd appreciate it. And she did. And then she started thinking of ideas, how we could do more with it. And that is the creativity.
Asking what drew me to was the opportunity to be creative again, to design some jewelry, to design bags while helping other people. And then also I feel that there's something very empowering about two women creating a business, and I wanted to be part of it. And I think that this is not to say it's exclusively for women, but again, going back to that mental health aspect where we lose ourselves. So when we started to talk about our different passions and where they crossed over and where they connected, this concept that I think through our brand, we can, kind of bring back this feeling of fun and spirit to women. And I'm really passionate about that. And it's a way of connecting. I think we need to be more connected. We're all on our phones and our devices, and and I think that going out for a drink with your friends is still a very nice hands-on. You shut the rest of the world off. Maybe you don't think about your problems. You don't think about the fight you had with your husband or the problem that your child has with their homework. You sit down with your girlfriends, you have a drink, you have a laugh, and it sounds light, but is it light? Is it unimportant? And I think that it is actually super important. And so I think that drew me to the business.
Yeah.
So you are two people from the United States living in England, trying to build a business in England. What is that like?
It's been great. I think London is definitely ready for tequila. When I was doing my research, it's the leading tequila consuming country in Europe. And my children are half English. My husband is English. So I do feel like England is my home in a way as well. And for me, I wanted it to be proudly London based. Mm-hmm. So, and then, Heather had that in common because she loves London, just like she mentioned earlier. For her, it was her whole mission to move here, being half English. Yeah. And, and I wanted also to show my kids, how I'm merging these two cultures. My kids did grow up very confused, being Mexican American, English, growing up in Asia.
Yeah.
So, I also wanted to show them, you can mix cultures and they can symbiotically live together and create other beautiful things. And so, we always say, made in London, or what do we say?
Made in Mexico.
Yes, crafted in Mexico for London.
Yeah.
Or to London with love to London. But we very much market ourselves as a London-based company, and we want to be a London-based tequila. Although obviously we're made in Mexico because that's where tequila has to come from.
But I think we found starting the business here. I think London is another thing. I think that English people are really very, very social, right? So that the whole concept, there's so many we'd love to go out to a nice bar and a nice restaurant. And I think it's a perfect place for it because I think it is a cultural thing to get together and have drinks with friends. So I think it's actually we've had quite a great reception. Yeah. So I think in some ways starting here for us, it's just worked.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what have you learned along the way?
Oh, well,
good question.
That is a good question. I think that obviously we've learned many things, but I do think we were very practical going into this. Like, it's not our first rodeo. We both had other businesses and other careers. And so I think, JC came to me with quite an intricately planned out plan. It was very sensible. So I think there have been bumps in the road. I mean, at one point our tequila, we were waiting for it and it got blown to France. Right, sort of as we needed it, and so, there have been certainly bumps in the road. And, for instance, just how long it took us to get it here. Like, we thought we were going to have it last May, and it got here in December. So there certainly have been barriers and obstacles, but I think we kind of rode through them.
Yeah, I mean, the lessons have, like you said, been many. I think the biggest one for me has been don't give up. Yeah, all these challenges, any startup is going to have 101 fires, that you're gonna have to put out, and you just have to push through and be resourceful. That's another thing that I learned. I reached out for help. I'm new in the spirits world. And so I reached out to people, men, women that are spirit kind of veterans and have been in it for 20, 30 years. And, ask for advice. I've always been someone that I like to learn from others. And, when you do stumble upon problems, I think for me in the past, I was kind of a little bit of an expert in my field. So maybe I wasn't reaching out. This put me in a position of being like a novice in a whole new arena. And yeah, I started calling everyone I knew and reaching out to contacts and being like, so-and-so said, you might be able to chat with me for 10 minutes. So yeah, I would say that's a great lesson. Ask for help, ask for input. Most people are happy to share what they've learned in the industry and how they've overcome problems.
Yeah. So that's and again, be prepared for things to not go well. And I think support one another. Like, I think we're very lucky in that even when things have gotten tense, we make each other laugh. So we support one another. JC has an idea and I'm like, that's right, let's do it. And vice versa. And I think, and maybe that comes from experience, but I think being prepared, not expecting it to be all roses.
No pun intended.
Yeah. And so, when you get your hands on it, when people buy it, what's the best way? How do you like to drink it?
Well, we drink it. So JC always drinks it with soda water and lime,
which I call dragon water.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of our signature cocktails. I like the fizz. Mm-hmm. So it's just our tequila over ice with the top up of soda water. So it's clean, you're getting hydrated, and you still get the bubbles, because I did used to be a Prosecco and champagne drinker. Mm-hmm. And I do miss, that bubbly feeling when you're drinking. So that's
what I've actually taken to just drinking it on ice. I really like the flavor.
You went hardcore.
I went hardcore.
Cut out the water.
I did. I really enjoy the flavor, so that tends to be how I drink it. But it's great in a Paloma. It's great.
Yeah, Paloma is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a delicious one. We do, one of our favorites that we do is our version of an espresso martini.
The Mexicano martini.
We call it Mexicano, and it is really yummy. So we've also converted our friends to that.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
And also, as a side, it really gives you an energy boost.
Yeah.
So be prepared.
Yeah.
It's like a rocket. So you could probably when we're tired, because we travel a lot. Mm-hmm. So actually we're tired and we need to go out like to another meeting or go meet, a venue owner or something. We're like Mexicano martini because, the combination of tequila with espresso is really rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So that's always nice when you need it.
Yeah.
And it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
It actually is a better combination than vodka.
Yeah, I think it is. It gives like a rich flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, we also, put a bit of, there's Liquor 43, which is a Mexican liqueur, mm-hmm. which has this caramel taste, and putting a little bit of that's actually the recipe. It's almost like a caramel macchiato tasting, and it's very low calorie because the sweetness is coming from the Core 43, and you don't need much of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And where is it? Where can we buy it?
So right now, to consumers, they can order from Fine Wine Cellars. So on their website, which is finewinesellars.com. That's available now. We're launching specifically on trade first. So we'll be at Chiltern Firehouse. We've got some also commitments from other restaurants. Probably most of the Mexican restaurants will have it within the next few months. But I think like our signature launching venue will be Chiltern Firehouse. So don't be afraid to ask for it, because that's how we get into venues. Yeah. People don't know that, but ask for it at the bar, and then the bar managers will then order it, and that's also a challenge with new craft tequilas. And I think people should be supportive of these tequilas that are more natural and craft made. The big guys, they don't have to try. The distributors already have them. They've got a lot of money to give distributors. I think supporting small niche brands is important. And the way to do it is, ask, the bartender, do you have Ladydragón Tequila? And they might say no, but then they will then go back to the bar manager and say, hey, we need to order some. People are asking for it. So yeah, that's the best way, but we will be on trade. Right now we're online, and then we're hoping to launch with Amazon soon.
And you've got another tequila line coming in. What you just
So it's another expression. So this year we're going to complete. So last year was our launch year. So the Blanca was the most important one because that's kind of our cocktail mixer. This one is already being bottled and should be here in the UK by February. And it's our Cristalino. And Cristalino is a reposado. Well, ours is made from reposado. Reposado is a rested tequila that has been aged anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. It's normally brown, so people might recognize it because it's the brown one. But you carbon filter it, and then you end up with a clear liquid. So it's this color. It won't be this size, don't worry. It'll come. This is just a sample. But the flavor is super unique because you get some of those deeper profiles that come from a reposado tequila. But after the carbon filtering, some of the harsh kind of barrel sediments and things that come from the wood are stripped down. So we're really excited about that one because that is really going to be a sipping tequila. It tastes so beautifully, and we'll sample it now if you'd like. That is something that you would definitely want to drink over ice or neat because it just tastes wonderful. And then the third one that will also come this year will be our platinum. And that is kind of our own secret recipe that we're working on right now with our maestro tequilero. And I think it will be we might be the first tequila to do what we're experimenting with. And that is going to be kind of and that should be ready by Christmas. And we're hoping it's going to be very much a gifting item, the platinum Lady Dragon.